oh my gosh, I'm so fat, like what am I doing? Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Heidi and I wanted to do a video today on how to stay healthy over Christmas, because I'm partly doing this for myself, but hopefully you guys can benefit from it too. And I think the reason I'm doing this is because every year I seem to get myself caught in the same cycle with food, and I almost know exactly how the year's going to pan out in terms of like weight loss and just how I do things. And I think that's because my food and my relationship with food has been so up and down the whole year, every year of my life. Anyway, as some of you might know, I have recently discovered intuitive eating. I discovered it about a year ago, but I think only now have I fully come to understand it and make like more sense of it. And I feel like this is just going to help me massively just in the way I see Christmas and the way I eat my food around Christmas and the way I enjoy things around Christmas. And so I wanted to kind of share those things with you because I feel like this is actually going to be different for me. And I don't think I've had that kind of view on it any year of my life. And I've been alive for 27 years. So I feel like hopefully this is a new thing and this will work out much better. If you do like this video, please do like and subscribe. I'm gonna get into it and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello. So Joe and I are in Tring Park and we've come out for a walk. We've come for a walk because it's Saturday and we love doing our walks, but this is just one of the ones that I wanted to talk about in terms of ways to keep healthy over Christmas, because it's so easy during this time to just become like a couch potato and not want to do anything. But I feel like going for walks is one of the really easy ways just to kind of clear your mind, and it's actually like so beautiful, especially if you've got some really nice places around. Like I said, we're in Tring Park and just being here is just one of those really wholesome things. Like it makes you just feel so good. There's a little aeroplane up there. But I know for me, like, so what I was saying earlier is that I really struggle to kind of, I seem to go through like the same kind of cycle every year, especially with like weight loss and stuff. But I feel like this year it can be different because I know that I can take myself on just like walks and just go out really easily. And whereas that wasn't so much a part of my lifestyle last year, like I didn't go on as many walks and things. Like it is a little bit more difficult anyway when you're in London. And to be fair, I was probably moving around quite a lot, because when you're moving around London and stuff, you actually end up using quite a lot of energy. But taking stuff out for walks, for example, is just a really easy way to burn some calories, because it's one of those things you don't really have to think about, you just do it, and it's just one of the easiest forms of exercise, whereas other things require a lot more effort, whereas I find that this requires much less effort. Like you just get yourself out and I think you just gain so much from it. So it's really worth taking yourself out for a walk more than a few times over Christmas. And that's just, I think also it's just a lovely time, because even though there are no leaves on the trees and things like that, the lighting, I don't know if you can see, is just so beautiful and so spectacular. So I think it's really worth it. Sorry, as I was saying, there is really beautiful lighting, and so it's just such a nice time as well just to get gorgeous lighting, and it feels really cold and wonderful. It feels super wintry and Christmassy, which I love. So that is one wonderful way in which you can just get moving, get outdoors and get a little bit active if you're finding that you could become a bit of a couch potato, because it's so easy to do at this time of year. Say hello, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
I knew you'd say that. Okay, so, excuse my hat. It is pretty cold in mine and Joe's house right now, but the heating is on now, but I'm just quite comfortable with my hat. My funny little owl hat, which I actually quite like and I've had for absolutely years. But anyway, I have spent the last 27 years going through the same cycles every year of restricting myself so much throughout the year, desperate to try and lose weight. So I'll go through like, you know, a few weeks where I'm like really restrictive, like cut out whatever, and then I get to a point where I'm like, oh well, I need to have some chocolate, or I need to have whatever. So I have a mad binge and I go through the process again. And that just like, this tends to go in like yearly cycles. So I could probably tell you what kind of weights I'm going to be around the different parts of the year, not because of the weather, but more because of my mental cycle. So because I always find myself getting to Christmas and I'm like, it's Christmas, I can absolutely splurge, I can eat everything I want now finally, and then I'll get back to health in January. I just go through this cycle, and then on January I'm normally like the heaviest, and I find myself going through like January to May, like, oh, like trying my hardest to be as fit and healthy as possible, and I just go through these weird cycles. And I'm just like, this year I don't want to do that. I'm so done with that. I've done this for such a long time that I feel like I'm just so done with it. But the really amazing thing is I actually feel like there is light at the end of the tunnel, because if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know I've discovered intuitive eating, and this became a bit of a revelation to me, because I'm not really someone who's ever really just like honoured my hunger signals and eaten when I'm hungry. Like, to be fair, I think it's quite difficult with intuitive eating to kind of fully grasp it at first. Maybe if you have like a really unhealthy diet, like it's quite difficult, I think, because with intuitive eating you're relying on your body's signals, you're relying on hunger cues and things like that. If you're eating a lot of sugar or a lot of just unhealthy foods that aren't whole foods, that's gonna probably mess with your hormones quite a bit, cause a bit of inflammation, and naturally you're gonna be wanting more high calorie foods, because that's what you're kind of living off, and it's a bit of a cycle with that. Whereas if you're eating a lot more whole foods, then you don't get those hunger spikes as much, and you can actually trust your body to tell you what it needs. Whereas before, for me, I would eat so much sugar, so much sweets and things like that I would really struggle. It's only in the last few, like not last few years, since I was like 21, that I've really taught myself how to eat really well and just eat good wholesome foods. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love sweet things and I have such the like taste for it. But I think since discovering intuitive eating, I can trust myself to tell myself when I'm hungry. So I know when my body tells me that it needs to eat, and that is literally right now, and that is why I am about to make some jacket potatoes. I actually look like a bit of a potato right now, to be honest. And to be fair, I'm not like fully there with intuitive eating, because I've only been doing it for a little while and trying to understand it and make sense of it. But now that I'm like, I can eat anything I want, so I don't put any restrictions on anything. I'm just like, if I really want to have that chocolate, I'll have that chocolate. But I go through the process before buying it, before eating it, of thinking, do I really need that chocolate? Is that chocolate what I actually want right now? Or is it something else? Am I thirsty? Or am I just trying to fill time because I'm slightly bored? Like, often I'll just sit in front of this TV and I feel like I should have some food in my hands, because you're sitting on the sofa and you kind of associate that. And it's really interesting, because now, because I don't really crave any like high sugar foods, because I feel like my diet is quite balanced. At the moment I'm having like a mince pie a day, but I don't see that as a problem. I don't feel guilty about it. I'm actually okay with it. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not bothered by it. But sometimes I sit there and I think, do I need this? But I'm also like, I'd quite like to have it, so I do have it. But that's all I feel like I need. Whereas if you caught me like a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to just eat one. I would have eaten like 4. I would have eaten so much more, because I'd restricted myself so much from having them that I wouldn't be able to hold myself back. I don't need to think about willpower, because it's nothing to do with my willpower. And I think if you're relying on willpower to stop yourself eating, you're gonna have a bit of a bad time. It's probably not gonna work for you, and you'll probably end up eating much more and feeling really bad about it. So a really good helpful tip, I think, just over the Christmas period is, yes, you're allowed to have everything you want. Make sure that you're eating really wholesome meals when you get the opportunity. I know that's not always possible, but lots of like different loads of veg, fruit, nuts, things like that. Just try and like pack your meals with all these good things, because then I find that you crave things less in the day. I don't get cravings really anymore. And do you know what, right? Before I started intuitive eating, I became obsessed with these, I actually don't know how to say this, so someone feel free to tell me, but they're called Lebuchen stars, and they're obviously, I think they're German. And they're so tasty. They're kind of like a gingerbread. And I became so obsessed with these, what, a month ago? But I would just kind of eat them and know that I didn't really want them, but just ate them for the sake of it. Whereas now, they're still in my drawers. I've honestly had them in there for about 2 weeks. And because I'm like, I can have them anytime I want to have them, there's no, like, there's no desperation for me to be like, oh my gosh, I really need to have them, but I know I'm not allowed, but I need to have them. Like, there's none of that. I'm just like, if I want them, I'll have them. But for the most part, I actually don't want them, which is why I just haven't eaten them yet. And that's what I found that's happened just over the last few weeks. The other amazing thing is I haven't overeaten, so that's another really helpful thing and another helpful tip just over this Christmas time. Really listen to your body, try and listen to your body and work out what it needs. Obviously, again, there are going to be times you're drinking more alcohol and things like that, but just be cautious and just listen to what you need and try and work it out. I feel like this is the 1 year that I won't just go overboard and just eat into oblivion and eat until I'm in pain, because I have restricted myself so much throughout the year. I don't feel like I'm restricting myself anymore. I feel like my relationship with food has just improved only in those few weeks. Like, I just see it in a bit of a different light. Don't get me wrong, I'm not 100% there, but I feel like I'm definitely on my way there. And so if I do get through this Christmas period and I feel like, you know, actually I haven't binged like I would do every single year, and then got to January and felt really awful about myself and just been like, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, like what am I doing? Then I feel like I'll be really proud of myself, because I feel like this is really something that's going to change this year, and I'm really happy about that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I honestly have been doing this for such a long time that I feel like it just needs to, I need to nip it in the bud now, really. So that's that. But the other really amazing thing that I also find that can help you kind of learn to listen to your body is fasting. And I normally fast once or twice a week, only in the morning, only up until 12. I do it as like a prayer fast, but you can just do it as a normal fast. And the really helpful thing with that is it just helped me stop focusing on food all the time and help me focus on other things and not like constantly think about food. So if you struggle and you just think about food all the time and you just kind of use food to kind of fill every moment that you might be bored or whatever, trying a fast is really helpful just to kind of learn how to listen to your body and realise what it actually feels like to be hungry. Because I feel like I didn't really know what that felt like. Like, I had to quite get used to it and learn how it felt to get hungry. So the tips are, make sure to get lots of whole food in your diet over this Christmas period. Just try and fit it in. Though it's not always possible, it's good to try and do it when you can. This is kind of 3 in 1. I hope that's okay. 2 is really listen to your body, listen to what your body actually needs and try and work out whether you actually want it just before you're about to eat something, and decide whether that's the right thing for you. And 3, try fasting to get more in tune with your body. You don't have to do it for long, and it's just a really simple thing. One tip with fasting is try not to have a huge meal. It's really, really tempting to have a huge meal as soon as you've finished your fast, because you feel quite hungry afterwards. Try and have quite like maybe like a slightly smaller portion than normal, just so you don't overeat, because that can be quite painful. But yeah, so they're my kind of 3 tips. Hello, so the third one I wanted to talk about to you is exercise. I know I've already talked about walking, but I kind of separate them because I do both, and I feel like that just, I don't know, it's just the third way I like to keep fit, or just healthy. So I've just done a class, and to be honest with you, it was pretty damn hard. I haven't done a class in such a long time. I used to do them loads. I used to do loads of HIIT sessions, but now I kind of focus on doing weightlifting and a bit of cardio as well, because I quite like it. But when I woke up this morning, I really didn't want to go. It was -1 outside, and the car was completely frosted, and I was like, oh, and it took me about 15 minutes to defrost the car, and I thought, if I'm late, I kind of don't care, I kind of don't want to do this anyway. But fortunately there wasn't traffic and it was fine, and I was kind of relieved as well. I was like, oh, actually this will be really good, like I know that I'll really enjoy it, and it's only half an hour. That's the amazing thing about classes. So if you've got a gym that does classes, really worth doing them. But what I just kind of wanted to say is, it's really easy over the Christmas period to stop exercising and just kind of get really cozy and become a bit of a couch potato, as I've said already, and just stay indoors and just be put off by the fact that it's so cold outside. And to be honest with you, I really was like that this morning. I was like, maybe I'll just go for a run in a little bit. But it's so worth it afterwards, just letting yourself just get a bit sweaty. And that's what I kind of try to see it as well. Like I try and see it as not going and doing exercise as much, but more just like being able to get a real sweat on. I was just doing core today, so that was the core class, and with the goal of just getting a sweat on, makes your workout so much more enjoyable, I find. So I think of it as that, just like an opportunity to get really sweaty, and if you do that like almost every day, it just feels so good. Like I feel great now. And one of my tips with keeping exercise consistent over the Christmas period is, if you're already in like an exercise routine, avoid taking more than 2 days rest days. I would personally only take 1 rest day unless you're absolutely ruined from something. I would only take 1 rest day, because that I'm still on a high from the day before. Whereas if you leave it 2 or 3 days, by the time it's the 3rd day, it's so much harder to get back on it. I find it I'm much more resistant to it than if it's only 1 day. So that's one real thing that's helped me, and I kind of just realised that on my own. Like especially just in the summer, I was like, if I'm leaving my running any more than 3 days, then I just don't want to do it, and it's really hard to get back onto it on that 4th day. So tip for this one, don't leave your rest days more than 1 or 2 days max. And the thing is, it's so cold as well that I only take, my runs are sometimes only 15 to 20 minutes long if I'm doing a run. At the moment I'm finding running easier, a little bit easier, because I can just put my clothes on and just go straight out my door and just run for as long as I actually want to. And you find that actually, once you get into the headspace of just like not thinking about the run, this can take sometimes up to 15 minutes, but not thinking about the run and just like you get to a point where you're just in the flow of the run, it feels so good. So choose whatever form of exercise you want. If you're already doing exercise, just keep it going, but avoid resting for too long. And yeah, just do something you really enjoy over the Christmas period, and even if it's indoors, like doing like little weight things indoors and stuff, like I found that really helped and helps me sometimes if I really can't be bothered and I just want to do something at home. But for the most part, I think it's actually better to get yourself outdoors and outside, because I feel like you benefit so much more from it. And classes are golden. Like, you've got a set time that you've got to be there. Normally gyms and things give you some sort of, I don't know, they give you some sort of something if you missed your class. Like, they won't let you do classes, like you get blocked or something like that. So they're really good incentives. Like this morning I was like, maybe I should just cancel, but you have to do it an hour before, and by this time it was already 7:30 and my class was 8. So I was like, I'm just gonna have to do it, and now I've done it. I feel great. So really worth just like booking these things in and making sure you get yourself like a little weekly kind of plan going for your exercise routine, especially over Christmas. To be honest, would I exercise on Christmas Day? I think about it sometimes. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll go for a run. Most of the time I don't do that. I haven't gone for a run on Christmas Day, ever. So you can do that, you might not, but just trying to avoid leaving more than a couple of rest days, I would say, for me, is just the top tip with exercise over this Christmas period. So there you have it. They are my tips for trying to stay healthy over Christmas. And just one major rule is just don't be hard on yourself. Like, I know that I found it really easy to get really just down on myself and just hard on myself. Like, if you can't do them all the time, that is not a problem. But they're just little things to just keep in mind. 1, go for a walk, just get outside as much as you can. 2, make sure you're eating as many whole foods as possible. When you can, just try to just have really good, wholesome meals. And along with that, you can also do a bit of fasting. It'll make you feel so much better, just giving your stomach a little bit of a break. So I think that's a really helpful thing about fasting. It helps you listen to your body a little bit better as well. And then finally, just try and get some exercise in as well as walking. Doing a like 15-minute workout at home, or going for a run for 15 minutes. Anything to basically get yourself a bit of a sweat on is good. And again, don't be hard on yourself. If you can give yourself only 1 or 2 rest days at a time, that is great. If you can't, it's not a problem, but it just helps with consistency. That's pretty much it, I think. I'm sorry that I'm so all over the place. I feel like I'm not very good at just making points. I need to learn to public speak better, because I just really hope it makes sense. Basically, just look after yourself. I am now going to go. Thank you if you managed to make it this far in the video. Well done. And also, I hope that you just have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I always do that. If you do like the video, definitely like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.